Okay, how can you rewrite 2 to the 3/4 power? Okay, let's think about this. So you can pause the video and think about this. Okay, so since we know about 2 to the 1/2 power and 1/3 power, we went through all these. Now the difference is instead of 1, we have 3/4 as an exponent. But let's think about this. So we know the fraction 3/4 is equal to 1/4 times 3. Is that right? Because 3 is the same thing as 3/1, right? So it's going to be the same thing as 1 times 3 is a 3, 4 times 1 is 4, so it's a 3/4. Or we can write it as, actually we can switch that as in 3 times 1/4. So make sure we understand this part. Then we can solve this. Okay, let's rewrite. So if you understand this part, so we can be this. So 3/4 is the same thing as a 1/4 times 3, or 3 times 1/4. So this right here, now we can rewrite 2 to the 1/4, right, times 3, right? Because when you have exponent inside of the parentheses and outside of the parentheses, you have to multiply. So remember that rule? Let's write the rule here. So what's the rule? You can say a to the mth power, and you have all over the nth power. Then this is the same thing as a to the m times n, right? So if we multiply 1/4 times 3, well, 1/4 times 3 is the same thing as 3/4, isn't it? So that's what we have. Then we know also the 1/4 is same thing as what? Remember 2 to the 1/4 power? We can rewrite this as, we just learned that, right? We can rewrite this as what? 4th root of 2, isn't it? And then you can say the 3rd power. So we can think of this that way, right? Or if we take that 3 times 1/4, we can also write it as what? 2 to the 3rd power altogether and multiply 1/4 outside instead, right? So we're switching that. Well, we can make the 3 goes inside and the 1/4 goes outside because we can use the same rule, right? This means that 3 times 1/4, right? So the exponent is multiplying, and then it becomes same thing as 3/4, right? So in this case, what's the 2 to the 3rd power? Isn't that 2 times 2, which is 8 to the 1/4, right? And what's 8 to the 1/4 power? Now we can change it into the radical. So the 4 goes to the outside. So it's the 4th root of 8. So we can play with this, right? So we can either have that as a result, or we can come up with this one as my results. So either way is fine, right? So how do you rewrite 2 to the 3/4 power? Well, you can either write it this way or that way. Okay? So let's do some examples now, right? Let's have some example questions. So let's see. Example 1. How do you rewrite 11 to the 1/5 power and rewrite this as radical expression? Okay, then what would you do? Well, we already know this is a 1/5 power. Not it's 11. It's not 2, but it doesn't really matter what the 11 is. That's the base. So we can rewrite this as what? The 1/5. So it's going to be 5th root, and 11 goes inside, right? So it's simple, right? If you're not sure, think about this. So we can go back to the previous videos. So that's what happens, right? That's simple. How about, let's make another example. A rewrite as radical again. Radical expression. How about 4 to the 5/2 power? Well, we just went over this, right, as 2 to the 3/4. So we can do these, we can split this. We can do, well, let's do side notes. 5/2 is the same thing as, can you say, 1/2 times 5, right? So that's going to be my exponent. So we're going to make a 1 inside the parentheses, 1 outside. So this one, I can split this as a 4 to the 1/2 power, right? And then multiply 5 outside. So this becomes, since look at the rule, right? Remember the rule we have? Inside, outside, you multiply the exponents. So we're going to multiply this and it becomes 5/2, right? And then we know the 4 to the 1/2, isn't that same thing as the square root of 4, right? Inside, right here, right? So that's right here. It's the same thing as square root of 4, isn't it? And then we have 5th power outside, right? But what is the square root of 4? Isn't that same thing as 2, right? Yes? And then this becomes 2 to the 5th power, which is what? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It's going to be what? 32. Okay, I hope you get the hang of this now. Let's do one more, and then we'll try. What about rewrite again? 27 to the negative 2/2 power. So that's a little different. Then we got to remember how do you handle the negative exponents, right? I rewrite as radical expression. Okay. So what is the negative exponent? Well, we know the negative exponent is what? You send it over, so 27 to the 2/3 power negative. We can make this over 1, right? Remember this? And then we can send the 27 whole thing cross off the fractional line and the exponent becomes positive, right? So we can change it into 1 over, because everything is gone to the bottom, so you got to leave the 1 there, and becomes 27 to the 2/3 power, right? Positive. That was a negative, so we move down, so it's going to be positive. Then we know how to handle the denominator now, right? So it's 1 over. 27 is what? We can think of this 27 to the what? 1/3, right? Can make it 1/3, and then multiply 2 outside. Isn't that the same thing as 2/3, right? Exponent. And then we can keep on going with this. So let's see. So then 1 over, isn't that 1/3 is the same thing as cube root of 27, right? And the whole thing to the 2nd power. Yeah? And then 1 over cube root of 27, I know 27 is a 3 times 3 times 3, so can we make this 3 to the third power? Why? So we can cancel the cube root and the cube. They cancel each other. They undo each other, right? So this will become, I know, I forgot the square. So let's make a square outside. So this cube root and the cube will undo each other. So now we have 3 gets out. So it's going to be 1 over 3 gets out, and you have a square outside. So it's going to be 3 to the second power. Is that right? Yes? And then that's equal to what? 1 over 3 times 3 is 9, right? So that's going to be your answer for this. So it's not really a radical expression. It became the rational. Okay.